Mike Burris here with spiritmusicmeetups.org. It's been a long time since I've done a video. I wanted to give you a video on how you can really play fills, drum fills, both as linear fills, that is the hands and feet in a line, one stroke after another, or non-linearly, that is the feet are under the hands. That's also very common. So you really want to be coordinated to do both. But this is a method that I have used for a long time. It's very systematic, very methodical, and so you can expand your practice very progressively, okay? One step at a time, moving forward. So let's put some stuff up here on the whiteboard first so you can see this. We'll start out with one stroke. You know, think of the lead hand. I'm going to speak as a right-handed player, okay? So my lead hand would be my strong hand, my right hand. Now I can lead with my left also, but that's my weak hand for me. So I'm going to think of my right hand as the lead hand. So think about this. You can have the right hand, and I'm going to say one above that, because I can have, if the right hand is in the position, my lead hand is in the position, it's on, it's one. But if it's off, this is like digital, you know, 0 or 1s, then it's a left, all right? So I hope you can see that. A big right, big left. It's on or off. So we're going to start with just one stroke. Now, linear would be to put a foot before or after a bass drum, before or after that stroke. So you get to choose. That's linear, because now the strokes are in a line. And we're only going to have one bass drum. But what if you had two bass drums? So if you had a left hand, that's the non-lead hand, you could have two bass drums in front or two bass drums after the stroke, or one in front and one in back. Does that make sense? Hope you can see that with my shadow. So you want to explore all these options. A foot in front or a foot in back, two in the front, two in the back of the stroke, or one on both sides. All these are useful. We're not even talking about counting it or making it a rhythm. Right now we'll make it very even, but you can explore uneven rhythms like ba, ba, da, ba, ba, da. Notice there's a pause in there instead of ba, da, da, ba, da, da. So we'll look into that. Now, non-linear, okay, is having the foot underneath the hand, sort of like a chord is more than one note played at the same time. So we would have something like, let's look at that. We would have the foot underneath the hand. Well, that's not terribly exciting, isn't it? Under the right hand or under the left, okay? So let's put this on the drum set and see what it sounds like. All right? So you always want to take the theory and experiment with it. So I'm going to play it sort of like a beat. So I call that a fill-in, because I'm filling in around some kind of time-keeping beat. But it still gets the idea. So we're going to put a foot before, and I'm playing it very evenly instead of, that's very unevenly. So we're not talking about counting or anything. Now we can start coming up with ways to count it. So I'm going to put a bass drum in front of the right hand. And I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, that's counting like quarter notes. But then I would maybe try eighth notes. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. How about sixteenths? 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So you want to try different countings so that you can play it to music. What about eighth note triplets? 1 triplet, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So that's kind of weird because there's only 2 hits, but there's 3 strokes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's kind of odd phrasing, isn't it? So try different countings, but really you're trying to build coordination. So try even. And you can put a metronome on and just speed it up so you can get used to moving your foot. See how fast you can go, okay? Try to keep it going. And I would do it to music loops to make it way more interesting. See if you can play to the music, a music loop. So now that's the bass drum in the front. How about after? Now it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. Or 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Or 1 E and a, 2 E and a, 3 E and a, 4 E and a. So that's coming after. And so that's going to feel and sound completely the opposite in the music. So you want to make sure you can do that. Make sure that you can do that before and after on everything. Might try different bass drum techniques. I'm doing my heel down, playing flat-footed. So I'm just playing flat-footed, and then I'm going to try heel up. Play a lot faster that way. And you can play, that's heel up, playing ankle pivot. So you're pivoting your toe down and playing like this, okay? So basically you can only play, now you can play heel up and move your entire leg, but I want to just, move my toe, just kind of heel up and then move my toe, but you can use the whole. And that's for a lot louder sound, you know. You might want to do that to a metronome so you'll play very evenly. So that was linear with the foot before and after the stroke. So we could also play under, non-linear. Hitting crashes, get all over your drum set, matching your right hand. That's very good for crashing because you want your bass drum to be right there with your bass drum right with your crashes, okay? So that's the right hand playing linear and non-linear. But also you want to do your non-lead hand. The 0, it's off, all right? So that's our left hand. So here's before. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. I'm going clockwise, counterclockwise, in to out. out. So you want to be able to that coordination. And then the opposite, which is foot after. 1 and 2 and 3 and now it sounds the same unless you're playing the music. It's the exact opposite. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You say, when do you use the foot before or the foot after? Why would you? Okay, so I like to put the foot on the count when I'm in a beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I like to have the foot on the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But when I'm doing a fill, I like to have the foot after. I like to hear the drums on the beat. So I have the bass drum kind of as a syncopation. 1 and 2 and off the beat. And then back on the beat for the crash that starts, right? The crash, it doesn't end the fill, it starts the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, see? 1 and. So that starts the beat. And that continues the beat. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. My crash is here. I should bring this crash in just a little bit so you can see it. No, it's covering up. I don't want to cover up the film. So 1 and, so it's 1 and, right? So I'm just gonna crash like here. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 1 and 2. And 1. So I can crash with either hand. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. So I crash on the 1, play my fill with the bass drum after 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and back on 1. And 1, and 1. So if you don't like that and 1, you can just stop your fill short. Don't play the and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Then you got a big gap where the and would be, and then you can start your beat. 1 and 2, 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 to fill in that last hole if you don't like and 1. So that's how you can use that simple fill. But I'll tell you, being able to put a bass drum before or after some kind of stroke is very helpful when you're doing fills, because you're just gonna want to put that bass drum in as a hiccup, as a way of breaking up. See how I played some hands, and as soon as I wanted to break up those hands, I threw a bass drums in there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So I just throw the bass drum in, but you gotta be able to do that with these exercises if it's gonna happen organically, on the fly, in the moment, when you're doing your fills. So I'm throwing the bass drum in to break up the hands, and the more you practice that, the more apt it's going to come out in your playing. So now, let's talk about putting 2 feet. Now you can use double bass, double bass for this, or just single bass and using different techniques. We won't go into it. There's videos for all those techniques. I'm going to do at slow speeds, heel down. My heels down, I'm just going to go dot, dot. So I don't have to work very hard. But as I go faster, I'll put my heel up and I'll do this, or I'll go toe ball. When I go really fast, I go tra, dra, 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 dra. I go toe ball, which is a whole nother, you know. So it's something just organic. You got to practice. So I'm going to just do heel down. So I'm going to go boom, boom. So now I'm going to go. So I'm doing 2 feet before one hand. And I'm playing it very evenly. I could play it unevenly by putting a rest in there. So I da 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 rest. Or I could go rest, 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 rest. So where you put the rest in is going to make it easier or harder. Almost playing 1 E and trotting horse. 1 E and so there's an rest. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and 1 E and 4 E and. But I could play it as a 8th note triplet or 16th note triplet. 1 da da 2 da da 1 da da. No, where do we go? 1 da da 2 da da 3 da da 4 da da 1 da da 2 da da 3 da da 4 da da 1 da da 2 da da 3 da da 4 da da. Got to make it very even. Now it's starting. That's uneven, right? So it's kind of tricky to make it even. That's where double bass comes in handy. Practice a little bit before I'd make these videos. So double bass is handy in making things very fast and very even. Those are evenly sounding, but that sounds like light heavy because I had to use toe ball technique. That's a little bit better. That's a ankle pivot. Da-da. It's a little louder. So each one has pros and cons at different speeds. So you want to get around, go in to out, in to out, in to out, then side to side. Front to back. I'm putting the bass drum in the front like I would do on a beat. Right? But I can put the feet in the back side. Sorry. Yeah. So now this is on the beat. Now it's hard to go da 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 da, and then another bass drum. You'll have 3 bass drums in a row. That's kind of tricky. So a lot of people like to stop short. There's a big pause after that. Put a little pause at the end of that. So mess around with both. It's very important to be able to do that. And double bass. So mess around with that. But don't ignore your non-lead hand. Right? You don't have to play traditional grip. That's bass drum in the beginning. Again, you won't know the difference unless you're playing to a click track or to music. So it's important to do that. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 I put the bass drum on the end because it was like a fill. And 3 and 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Getting all those bass drums is hard at the end. So a lot of people like to stop short, like we talked about. So that's a foot, that's 2 feet in front or 2 feet after. But you can do a foot before and after, which is this example, which is kind of like a samba. Samba is one E, you know, the accents are on the end. So the accents are on the end. Well, we'll make the bass drum on the end. We'll use the right hand. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. You say, oh, it sounds the same to me. But actually, now the bass drum is playing a shuffle. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1. That's a shuffle. Da, 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 da. 1, da, 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 da. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. And what you're doing is filling in the shuffle, filling in the middle of the shuffle with the hand. Now that's very important in blues, isn't it? So hear the shuffle? Now I'm going to put the left hand in between that. So now I'm putting the non-linear part as my right hand and my right foot working together, but the linear part is I'm going to put my left hand. So this is kind of a mixture. And that's the blues. All right, hear that? Got a rattle on my snare. Wonder how that's going. So, yeah, some rattle going on. So, we want to be able to put the bass drum on the outside of a pattern. And there's so many reasons for that, not just for sambas, but in this case, a blues pattern. So that'll come really in handy in blues and jazz. So make sure you can do the outside for your bass drum, the outside of the pattern. All right, one bass before and after a hand. So I think that'll set you up for 2 notes, 2 strokes, okay, 2 hand strokes. But make sure that with all of these, you can mix your right and your lefts. For instance, bass drum before. Well, instead of just the right hand, let's use the left hand. Boy, I don't like that rattle. Do you like that rattle? I don't like that. Boy, that's even worse. Let's just tighten it up. There's something rattling. Don't you hate that when that happens? Everything's perfect until you make a recording. So, you want to move that around. Now, I played that as a beat, putting my bass drum in the beginning and the hand after. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 4 and 2. So make sure you can do all kinds of combinations of rights and lefts, okay, while you're messing around as a beat, but also as a fill. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So now the hands are on the beat, or the major subdivisions, and the bass drums after it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Right? So you want to move around. You want to move around. How about 16ths? 1 E and a 2 E and. See, 1 E and a 2 E and a 2 E and a 4 E and a 1 and a 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 2 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2 and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 2 E and a 4 E and a 1 and 2. So you can see that is using both hands playing the bass drum after it. So same with triplets. 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1. You know, and I should say that the flam is just a thick stroke, right? So the right hand, instead of a right hand, make it a flam, and that'll make it. And that's a left instead of just a left. You can. And by the way, you can do that same both hands in unison thing, now both at the same height, called unison playing. So just mess around, sounds better on double bass, but try that on drums. What effect that has playing the bass drum around your drums like this. You know, that's a powerful thing to do, is play the bass drum around a unison hits. So see how many things you can do with one stroke. You can do drags. You don't have to do flams. You can. So you can put a bass drum after a drag. And there's two bass drums. Around with drags and flams. It's really just a thick stroke, a way of embellishing a stroke and to make it thicker. And so that's what we have. So we'll do another video about how to do two hands, right, left, left, right's the opposite, right, right, the opposite, left, left. And now, so we have more 0 and 1s, okay? We have 4 possibilities. And what we're going to do is the same kind of fill ideas and fill in ideas, fill in to a beat, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1 and 2. There's a flat flam or unison playing. I'm gonna play 2 E and a, 2 E and a. So that bass drum after is the same thing. So I use that as a fill in. 1 and 2. 3 and 4, 1 and 3 and 4, 1 and 3 and 4. was filled in to a beat. See how that worked? And I put the bass drum after the hand, but I could have put the bass drum in front of it. Hear that? Bass drum came before it. That's very common to put a bass drum before the hand. There's double bass. 1. Hear that? You want to be able to do that. Setting up the backbeat. Bump, 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 bump. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. Now I just did a different counting. And 2 and 2 and 2 and 2 and 2. Or and 2. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So there's so many ways to put bass drums before and after things, and you got to really try them all to make sure your body can do them, so that when you think the thought, boom, your body does it. Be able to do it at different speeds. So I love metronomes and music loops that I say drumless music loops. They have no drums to confuse you, but you can often hear a click. They'll put a click in there. Click, click, click. So you always know where the numbers is. The numbers are, I should say. The 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope this helps you. Short little video, 32 minutes. Time flies. Well, enjoy this and look forward to another video to where you get into more hands, right? You can add more feet. It just gets complicated. You almost have to have double bass when you add more than 2 strokes, you know, three strokes, 4 strokes. You pretty much have to have a double bass. But you can, at slower speeds, you can do it with the single bass. You just got to work it. You got to really work your technique. Now, I put a lot of these right lefts together into patterns on my website, and I'll try to put a link there for you. And I'll show you in future videos how you can do that yourself mentally. But I put all these together so I can just read down the page, okay? So God bless you. I hope to hear from you. Put your comments down below in the comments on YouTube, and this will be out on a web page somewhere, so you can always put the comments on the web page too. It's so you can teach one another. It's a blog website, so you can teach one another. Okay, so hope to hear from you. Bye bye.